she crash-landed on Earth to protect her cousin. But what if Supergirl is more dangerous than anything she's meant to stop?
Welcome back to Top Secret Inc., the channel where comic book mysteries are decoded and no panel goes uninvestigated. I'm your host, Thorne Bishop, and today we're diving headfirst into Supergirl Volume 1, Power, the 2006 relaunch that redefined Kara Zor-El for a new generation. This volume isn't just about a girl in a cape. It's about power, control, identity, and chaos into stepping into a world that already has a Superman. What happens when someone just as strong, maybe stronger, crash lands with no clue of who she is or what she's capable of? If you thought Supergirl was just a kid-friendly counterpart to Clark Kent, buckle up. This volume puts the myth in a chokehold and throws it right into the sun. Let's decode the mission, page by page.
Before we dive deeper into the mission, let's pull the files on the key players: heroes, villains, rogues, and wildcard operatives. This is the subject profiles. Kara Zor-El, Supergirl, the last daughter of Krypton. Kara is the protagonist who crash-landed on Earth as a teenager with suppressed memories of her true mission. Throughout the series, she struggles with an inner darkness. She represents the classic hero's journey of discovering one's true nature while fighting against a darker destiny. Alter ego Supergirl, the Dark Mirror. The evil personality split from Supergirl by Lex Luthor's Black Kryptonite, representing Kara's original programming and suppressed memories from Krypton. Dressed in black instead of blue, she embodies pure rage and the mission to destroy Superman that Kara's father embedded in her. She serves as both the primary antagonist and a representation of Kara's internal struggle with her dark origins. Lex Luthor, the Puppet Master. Lex serves as the mastermind orchestrating events from the shadows throughout the series, using his multicolored kryptonite gauntlet to drive the central conflict of the storyline. He represents the calculating villain who seeks to understand and exploit Kryptonian weaknesses for his own gain. Batman's the Watchful Guardian. Batman appears as both protector and surveyor, monitoring Supergirl's activities and serving as one of her primary mentors alongside Superman. He discovers her crash site, tracks her movements, and ultimately helps resolve the final confrontation with kryptonite and strategic intervention. His role emphasizes the theme of surveillance versus protection that runs throughout the series. Superman's Clark Kent, the distant cousin. Superman serves as the reluctant mentor figure who watches Supergirl from afar, representing both her connection to Krypton and the target of her original dark mission. His protective but hands-off approach creates tension as he struggles between giving her independence and ensuring she doesn't become a threat. He embodies the family legacy that Kara must either embrace or destroy. Power Girl, the Kryptonian rival. Power Girl serves as Supergirl's first major confrontation with another Kryptonian on Earth. She represents the established Kryptonian presence on Earth that views Supergirl as a potential threat. Superboy's Connor Kent, the hostile family member. Superboy appears as an antagonistic family member who initially attacks Supergirl when she arrives at the Kent farm seeking guidance. He represents the younger generation of heroes struggling with their own control issues. Raven, the mind reader. Raven serves as the empathic teen titan who attempts to read Supergirl's mind. Her psychic encounter provides the first concrete evidence of the darkness lurking within Supergirl's subconscious. She represents the supernatural element that can perceive threats others cannot see. Starfire, the wounded mentor. Starfire serves as a member of the Outsiders who attempts to mentor Supergirl and later helps revive her after the split personality manifestation. She represents the dedicated teammate who risks herself to help others grow into their heroic potential.
It all starts off with a young Supergirl racing off to respond to a mayday call from Air Force One because of course it does. Like, right? The president's in trouble and who's naturally going to hear it? Supergirl, who's currently chilling on Paradise Island with Wonder Woman, probably having the most awkward sleepovers in comic book history. I mean, come on. What do they even talk about? Hey, Diana, so, like, how do you deal with all these mortals being so fragile? Well, Kara, you could probably start by not accidentally vaporizing them with your heat vision. But here's where things get interesting, because we cut to the Batcave where Superman and Batman are literally tracking Supergirl on a computer screen like she's some kind of endangered species they're monitoring for National Geographic. And I have to say, Bruce, this is peak creepy uncle behavior right here. You're watching your friend's cousin on multiple monitors while sitting in the Batcave dressed like a bat. Like, that's not suspicious at all. Now here's the kicker, right? There's also a guy named Noah watching her too. But you might know him as the Calculator. And he's giving all this intel back to Lex Luthor on the phone because apparently Supergirl is the new girl in school and everyone wants to know if she's going to sit at the popular kids table or if she's going to burn down the cafeteria. So we switched over to Supergirl herself and she's right underneath Air Force One, and apparently one of the turbines has caught fire. She's holding the entire plane up like it's a grocery bag that's too heavy, but you don't want to make 2 trips. The wing with the turbine breaks off and Supergirl goes to discard it and fly back to keep the plane afloat. Now here's where it gets nuts. Superman is in the background watching from a distance like some kind of super-powered helicopter parent. Kara hasn't noticed him yet, which honestly is probably for the best because imagine you have an older cousin watching you parallel park except for the car's Air Force One and the parking spot is not crashing it like into the ground. Supergirl manages to safely land the plane at a local airport and the Calculator relays another message back to Lex, saying that she's getting more skilled with her superpowers. Which is like basically saying, hey boss, the new superhero is getting better at superheroing. Should we be worried? And the obvious answer is yes. Lex, you should always be worried when a Kryptonian's involved. Next, Supergirl flies away and Superman decides to follow her at a distance because apparently the Kent family motto is, boundaries are for other people. What starts as Superman trying to be sneaky turns into a chase scene that's almost like a training exercise, except neither of them signed up for it. They both fly past the Justice League moonbase, and here's where it gets absolutely ridiculous. Supergirl leaves Superman in the dust. Superman is now floating in space over the moon in complete astonishment, probably questioning every life choice that led him to this moment, where his teenage cousin just schooled him in front of the Justice League of America moonbase. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the Calculator is looking at a live video of Supergirl on one of his massive computer monitors, when suddenly, she stares right into the screen and looks directly at him. She knows she's being watched, and for the briefest moment, Calculator is scared out of his mind. He tells Lex that somehow she's aware of him watching her every move, which is basically the superhero equivalent of she knows we're talking about her behind her back. Back at the Batcave, Batman is talking to Superman on a communicator about how Supergirl managed to ditch him in space, when suddenly Supergirl just appears behind him, saying, "What do you think you're doing?" And let me tell you guys, there's nothing more terrifying than a Kryptonian teenager who's figured out you've been spying on her. They have a mildly heated discussion in the Batcave, and she's accusing Batman of spying on her, which, let's be honest, is exactly what he's doing. She wants to know what's going on between him and Superman, and then she drops this bomb. Do you think you're the only one watching me? There are other people watching me too. And in frustration, she flies out of the Batcave, leaving Batman probably wondering if this is what it feels like to get grounded by someone who could literally throw you into orbit. Supergirl's completely pissed off, so she flies to the top of a skyscraper in Gotham, where she accidentally runs into Batgirl for the first time. She manages to make friends with someone who isn't related to her or obsessively monitoring her every move. They end up busting up a crime scene from Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. And I gotta say, Harley's role in this story is pretty insignificant, but she's still absolutely fantastic because it's Harley. At some point in this battle, Poison Ivy plants a big wet kiss on Supergirl, which would normally knock out Superman because Ivy usually has this synthetic kryptonite lipstick she uses, but it does absolutely nothing to Supergirl. Zero, zilch, nada. Poison Ivy is probably standing there like, what the hell is this? This is completely awkward. My signature move didn't even work. Then out of nowhere, Batgirl throws a massive punch at Supergirl right through the window into another building. Now you'd thinking this wouldn't be possible because Batgirl has no superpowers. And you're probably right. Except now we see that Batgirl is transforming into Clayface. So Supergirl just got sucker punched by one of Batman's rogue gallery pretending to be her new friend, which is honestly probably the worst Tuesday ever in DC history. Supergirl is understandably pissed off that she just got bitch slapped by Clayface. So what does she do? She grabs the ground and rips a massive chunk out of it with Clayface standing on top, picks it up, and just chucks it into the Gotham River, with Clayface still attached. It's gonna take Clayface a few months to put himself back together after he finds all his parts, which is honestly a pretty creative way of dealing with this shape-shifting villain. Superman magically appears again next to Supergirl, because of course he does. The man has timing that would make a Swiss watch jealous. They have a quick talk where he mentions how she handled Clayface and the other villains and how proud he was of her, which is sweet and all, but Clark probably should have led with this instead of the whole stalking thing. This issue ends with a scene between Calculator and Lex Luthor talking about Kara and how they need to find out more information about her, because apparently the theme of this entire issue is everyone wants to know what Supergirl's doing next, and they're willing to be super creepy about it. Now that the prequel's done, let's jump into issue 1. So this starts off with Kara trapped in her Kryptonian space shuttle as Krypton is literally exploding all around her. Now here's where things get interesting. When she left Krypton, her capsule gets stuck inside these massive chunks of the planet, like some cosmic game of Tetris that's completely gone wrong. The ship's like, nope, not dealing with this, and it puts itself into automated suspended animation for several decades. Eventually the rocks break apart and the capsule's free to continue on course to Earth. And where does she land? The only place you'd never think of, the Gotham River. Naturally, the first person on scene to investigate this crash is Batman, and I'm talking about Batman in his scuba batsuit with fancy headlights because of course he has underwater gear. It's Batman. The man probably has a contingency plan for fighting crime in the Mariana Trench, but here's the kicker. Superman is possibly only 14 or 15 years old at this point, so we've got a teenage alien crash landing and Batman is the welcoming committee. Then we get this cutscene of Supergirl talking to Stargirl from the JSA. She's telling her story and how she remembers arriving to Earth. Meanwhile, the Justice Society of America is currently in a battle with Solomon Grundy, and all the members combined are having a difficult time taking him down. And I mean, all of them are struggling with this swamp zombie. Near the end of the battle, we see Solomon Grundy holding Power Girl by both arms, stretching them out like he's about to make a wishbone out of her. It looks like he's hurting Power Girl really bad. Supergirl notices this and flies over there, and with one massive punch, just knocks out Solomon Grundy cold. Now, I don't know if you find this funny or insulting, but it took the whole JSA team just to keep him under control. And then Supergirl comes trotting over and knocks him over with basically a slap in the face. Like, seriously, the entire Justice Society can't handle one zombie, but a teenage car shows up and it's lights out for Grundy? Come on. So, why is she there in the first place? Because she feels that there's some kind of relationship she may have with Power Girl, and many would say Power Girl is the female version of Superman. When Supergirl reaches out to shake Power Girl's hand, Power Girl uncontrollably unleashes her laser eye beams and blasts Supergirl right in the face, knocking her straight through a local convenience store. Everyone from the Justice Society is stunned. At this point, Supergirl and Power Girl are in a full-fledged battle up in the air. No one can figure out why Power Girl did this. It's like road rage, but with flying people who can level city blocks. Eventually, Green Lantern manages to separate the two of them and control the fight. They end up finding out that Supergirl is causing some kind of allergic reaction to Power Girl, making Power Girl violent when she gets too close to Kara. So apparently Supergirl is literally toxic to other Kryptonians. Like, that's not awkward at all. A couple days later, we see Supergirl and Power Girl, both on either end of the head of the Statue of Liberty. Supergirl is trying to start a friendship again, and Power Girl is not having any of it. Just as Power Girl starts to fly away, she turns around and says that she can feel something dark inside Supergirl, and maybe Kara should get that checked out. Now we scroll back to a scene of the Calculator and Lex Luthor having a discussion via telecom, about the incident between Supergirl and Power Girl's battle. They're also talking about how very soon will make his grand introduction to Kara. Because of course Lex Luthor is watching all this unfold like it's his own personal soap opera. Now, Supergirl's really confused. Apparently every time she goes to meet someone for the first time, a battle starts. She's worried it's giving her some kind of a complex. And honestly, can you blame her? It's always revolving around her. So she decides to do what she thinks is best. Fly over to Smallville and get some advice from Superman. As she approaches the farmhouse, we can see Superman flying up from the home. But plot twist here, it's not Superman, it's Superboy, and he looks completely pissed off. He starts yelling at her, "I'm not gonna tell you this twice, but you gotta leave now." Okay, now we're jumping into issue 2. So we've got Superboy and Supergirl floating above the Kent farm like they're about to settle this the old-fashioned way. Superboy's eyes are glowing red, and I'm not talking in like a heartfelt manner here. I'm talking about he's about to laser face his own cousin into next week. This guy literally grabs Supergirl's cape and wraps her up like she's some kind of superpower burrito. And I mean, come on, like, what are you, like 5 years old? Of course, Supergirl is just being Supergirl and flexes her way out of it. And in the process, she sends Superboy flying like a rag doll. They start shooting eye lasers at each other because apparently that's how family disputes are settled on Krypton. Supergirl gets completely ticked off and delivers a right hook that would make Mike Tyson proud, practically breaking Superboy's jaw in the process. But here's where it gets interesting. I mean, like, weird. She flies down and offers a truce, grabs his face, and literally just snaps the jaw right back into place like she's a professional chiropractor. They're suddenly cool with each other now. And like for 30 seconds, they're like, hey, like, why were we like trying to even kill each other again? I don't remember, do you? Classic superhero logic here. But wait, it gets better because the Teen Titans show up to crash this family reunion. We're talking Cyborg, Beast Boy, Wonder Girl, and Raven. Basically the superhero equivalent of your annoying relative showing up to an uninvited Thanksgiving dinner. Now, you think we're talking about some epic 5-on-1 WrestleMania cage match action, but Supergirl? Nope, she just flies right out of there. Smart girl, I'd say. Wonder Girl, however, decides to be the hero that no one asked for and chases after her. Meanwhile, back at the farm, Cyborg walks over to Superboy and activates what can only be described as the world's most expensive dog whistle. This hypersonic torture device is designed specifically to mess with people who have super hearing. So, naturally, Superboy is writhing in pain while Cyborg basically gives him the world's worst migraine. And if this wasn't enough, Beast Boy transforms into this massive prehistoric elephant and literally sits on Superboy. I'm not making this up, people. A giant elephant just parked its ass on top of a Kryptonian. Apparently, Superboy was supposed to be on some kind of house arrest from the Teen Titans, and by him leaving the farm was a big no-no. That's why these guys showed up faster than a pizza delivery guy. Now we cut to Wonder Girl chasing Supergirl through the cornfield, because apparently that's where all the dramatic confrontations happen in comics. Wonder Girl decides it's a brilliant idea to use her golden lasso on Supergirl. Big mistake. Huge mistake. Like, I should have stayed at home and binged watch Netflix mistake at home. Supergirl grabs the lasso and her eyes start turning red with rage. And we're not talking about regular anger here. This looks like a full-on demonic possession terror toy. She somehow manages to overpower Wonder Girl, who wields a magic lasso. Mind you, she manages to rip it right out of her hands. Wonder Girl looks like she's just seen a ghost and collapsed to the ground. Supergirl tosses the lasso on top of her like she's throwing the towel at a defeated opponent. Talk about adding insult to injury. But then Raven shows up surrounded by black clouds because apparently subtlety isn't her strong suit. She lands in front of Supergirl and creates this whole dramatic darkness effect. Once they're both surrounded by these ominous clouds, Raven decides to use her empathic abilities to peek inside Supergirl's mind. And let me tell you, whatever she saw in there was so traumatic that Raven, who deals with demons and hell dimensions on a regular basis, starts screaming for mercy and begging to be released from whatever nightmare she just witnessed. This woman is literally whimpering on the ground asking for help. What is exactly going on in Supergirl's head that it can break someone who routinely battles the forces of darkness? Here's the kicker though. Supergirl was about to fly away, but she actually walks over and offers Raven a hand up to help her. Raven apologizes for entering her mind without permission and then asks the million-dollar question. What exactly did you see in there? Now we switch back to our elephant situation where Superboy manages to rage his way out from underneath Beast Boy's massive posterior. He's trying to explain to Cyborg that none of this is his fault. He was just minding his own business at home watching Netflix when Supergirl shows up and he was just trying to get her off the property. You know, normal cousin stuff. Just when Superboy and Cyborg are about to throw down, Supergirl flies in and literally puts her arms between them like she's breaking up a schoolyard fight. So now we've got Supergirl facing off all 5 Teen Titan members within arm's reach of each other. Supergirl delivers what might be the most reasonable line in the entire comic. If you don't want me here, I'll just leave. Finally, someone with some common sense. Superboy starts to defend his cousin Kara because, hey, family loyalty and all that. But then there's an explosion that separates everyone apart. And who shows up? The remaining members of the Teen Titans, Robin and Kid Flash, and they brought along Starfire from the Outsiders, because apparently we need more people in this already overcrowded mess. But here's where things get real interesting. The issue ends with a cutscene showing Lex Luthor in his power armor, one fist raised in the air like he's about to drop the most devastating mixtape in the history of rap music. His gauntlet has 4 different colored kryptonite stones on it. A green one, red, blue, and black. We've got that green kryptonite, which is basically Kryptonian poison, red kryptonite, which causes unpredictable behavior in Kryptonians, basically like PCP, blue kryptonite, which significantly targets Bizarro, and then there's black kryptonite, which we have absolutely no idea what it does yet. But knowing Lex Luthor, it's probably not going to result in a group hug and some heartfelt apologies. Okay, now we're stepping into issue 3, and this is absolutely wild. We're starting off with Kara wearing some kind of kryptonite gauntlets and chains because apparently somebody thought it was a brilliant idea to give her Kryptonian power dampening jewelry during training. She's going toe-to-toe with Grace from the Outsiders, and let me tell you, Grace with her braided hair and all those tattoos looks absolutely amazing. They're duking it out in what looks like the Outsiders' headquarters training area, which is basically a warehouse because apparently every superhero team operates out of an abandoned industrial building. Now, here's the kicker. Even with the kryptonite handcuffs, supposedly weakening her, Supergirl is still managing to knock Grace down on her butt into some boxes and making her look like a complete amateur. I mean, come on, Grace. You're getting outclassed by someone who literally is wearing a power-suppressing device. That's like losing a race while your opponent is running in cement shoes. But wait, it gets better because Thunder decides to jump down from the rafters with what can only be described as the cheapest of cheap shots. She lands on Supergirl's back and start gloating she's won the lottery or something, saying Supergirl will never be able to catch her off guard because she has the power to manipulate density and increase her weight. Thunder's basically turned himself into a human anvil sitting on Supergirl's back, thinking she's all clever in that. Well, Supergirl, in a fit of rage, manages to toss Thunder off like she's flicking away a bug and knocks her against a warehouse wall. Then, in what I can only describe as pure unadulterated anger, Supergirl manages to destroy the kryptonite restraints. Just straight up shatters them. Grace starts completely losing it because Supergirl shouldn't be able to break those kryptonite training chains. I mean, the whole point of the kryptonite is that it's supposed to weaken Kryptonians, but apparently Supergirl just didn't get the memo. Grace comes up from behind in the air, probably thinking she's got the element of surprise, but Supergirl's having none of it. She's like, nope, not this time, and uses her freeze breath to stop Grace in mid-flight. It's like hitting the pause button on someone's aerial assault. Thunder tries to get another cheap shot in with a punch right in Supergirl's face because apparently she hasn't learned her last lesson about picking fights with angry Kryptonians. Supergirl responds with a double overhead hammer fist that pummels Thunder right into the ground. Thunder looks at her square in the eyes, laughing, and says, "I didn't even feel that." Which is probably the worst thing you could say to someone who's already seeing red. Supergirl's eyes start glowing with heat vision and starts burning a circular hole around Thunder in the warehouse floor. Thunder, with her density manipulation, falls through the floor into the lower level of the building like we were watching an old Looney Tunes cartoon. Meanwhile, there's apparently a sniper up in the rafters with a liquid kryptonite bullet aimed right at Supergirl's head. I can't confirm this, but he kinda looks like Arsenal or Roy William Harper Jr., which would make sense because apparently everyone in the DC universe has access to specialized anti-Kryptonian ammunition these days. Just as things are about to get really messy, the doors to the warehouse open and there's only someone's silhouette visible. This mysterious figure throws something in the air that manages to hit Arsenal, stop his attack on Supergirl. We find out that it was Nightwing. But of course it was Nightwing. The guy shows up everywhere like he's the Batman universe's equivalent of a postal worker. Here's where we learn that this was just a training session that got completely out of hand in the Outsiders' headquarters. Nightwing slowly removes what's left of the Kryptonian restraining cuffs, and immediately Supergirl looks at Nightwing's face and for the first time is completely smitten with him. In front of the whole team, without any hesitation whatsoever, she flies up to him and gives him a big whopping kiss. Talk about some kind of high school crush behavior. Then, completely embarrassed by her own actions, she flies out of the headquarters like she's fleeing the scene of a crime. Starfire chases her down because apparently someone needs to have a talk with Supergirl about appropriate workplace behavior. Mid-flight, Supergirl apologizes for kissing Stargirl's boyfriend, which is probably the most awkward apology in superhero history, but then a laser falls out of the sky and hits Starfire right in the chest, actually passing right through her chest. Starfire loses control and starts falling out of the sky like a broken airplane. The next scene shows us Lex Luthor standing on top of a mountain with Supergirl. Remember that gauntlet with the 4 stones on it in the last issue? Well, he ends up zapping her with the green kryptonite rock from that very gauntlet. Supergirl is now on the ground in pain, completely subdued because apparently kryptonite actually works when it's not being used in a training exercise. As Supergirl's weakened, he grabs her by the throat with his power armor and gives her a little speech about the villain Darkseid. He wants to know what Superman did with him when he flew out to space. Supergirl tries to use her heat vision against him, but that doesn't seem to work because his power armor has some kind of shield protecting him. I mean, of course it does. Lex Luthor didn't become a supervillain by being unprepared by Kryptonian retaliation or something like that. Supergirl, still in a weakened state from the kryptonite, takes a few punches to the head from Lex and collapses to the ground. She's breathing and not unconscious, but she's definitely not having a good day. This is when Lex points his gauntlet at her and she's lying on the floor and he exposes her to the black kryptonite rays. She screams in agony, screaming in a pain like never before. And this is where things get absolutely bonkers. We see the physical separation happening. There's like a second Supergirl escaping from our hero's teenage body. She's wearing an all-black outfit that matches Supergirl's costume, only replacing the blue with the black. And apparently the black-clad Supergirl isn't a fan of Lex Luthor either, which should make for some very interesting family dynamics here. Now we jump into issue 4, and let me tell you, this issue is insane. We got an evil superhero throwing a tantrum across the solar system, and it's everything you could want from a villain who's basically an unstoppable god with anger management issues. So, let's start off with this black outfit Supergirl. And yeah, we're gonna call her alter ego from now on, so don't get confused with the real deal, who's gonna be called OG, okay? So, we're at a standoff with Lex Luthor, and of course, Lex is still trying to squeeze information about Darkseid out of her because apparently this guy never learns when to quit. Now, here's where things get spicy. They end up in a full-blown battle out in the field. The original Supergirl in the blue outfit is just unconscious on the floor. Like, way to go, blue team. Really contributing to the fight out there, aren't ya? But Lex actually manages to land a solid right hook and smacks Alter Ego right in the face. I mean, credit where credit's due. The man's got some stones going toe-to-toe with an evil Kryptonian. Alter Ego hits the ground, covered in her black cape. After wiping the blood on her face, she's absolutely pissed. She grabs Lex by his power armor and restrains him like he's a toddler throwing a fit at the grocery store. Then, this is where it gets really nasty. She uses her heat vision to cook the arm with the gauntlet, then follows up with Arctic breath. The thermal shock causes the armor to shatter, revealing a thin exoskeleton underneath it. But here's the kicker. The forearm suddenly protrudes with a single long spike, and he jabs it right through Alter Ego's gut, front to back. Now that's what I call a plot twist with a point. She fires off a backhand that sends him flying, and at this point, Alter Ego completely loses her mind. As Lex tries to run away, and really, who can blame him at this point, she flies up, grabs him by the seat of his pants, drags him up into space, and tosses him onto the moon like he's a piece of garbage. He ends up landing right outside the Justice League's lunar base, which is honestly the worst possible place for Lex to end up when there's an evil Supergirl on the rampage. Lex gets greeted by Green Lantern John Stewart, who's probably thinking this is just another Tuesday at the JLA moon base. John uses his ring to create a construct to wrap around Lex. Then, the Alter Ego shows up behind him, floating in the air with this childish, evil look on her face. You know, that kind of look that says, I'm about to ruin everyone's day and I'm gonna enjoy it. John trying to figure out what the hell is going on because he doesn't recognize that Supergirl outfit and something just feels off. But here's what really ticks off Alter Ego. She's slightly offended that John has Lex subdued before she could take care of it herself. Lex is her toy, not the Green Lantern's toy. So what does she do? She uses her super speed to snag the ring right off of John's finger. And this, she actually manages to get the ring to work. Now that's either really impressive or just terrifying. She creates a giant green fist and knocks the absolute snot out of John Stewart. The Green Lantern is now on the ground with stars circling his head like he's in a cartoon or something. Then Alter Ego takes off the ring and throws it on the ground next to him like a piece of useless junk. Talk about adding insult to injury. At this point, Lex Luthor just disappears, because of course he does. And Supergirl's eyes turn blazing red with anger, and you know it's about to get really bad when her eyes start glowing red again. Now we cut to a new scene where Starfire is slapping Supergirl, the real Supergirl, in the face, trying to wake her up from unconsciousness. And you can clearly see the laser wound that's gone clean through Starfire's chest. Starfire asks Supergirl to cauterize the wound so she doesn't bleed out, which I'd honestly have to say is one of the more practical uses of heat vision that I've seen in comics. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor, in all his stupidity, enters the Justice League moonbase to hide. Like seriously, Lex? You think that hiding in a building full of superheroes is gonna work out well for you? He gets confronted by Hawkman. But before anything can happen, Alter Ego jumps right into the fight, takes Hawkman's mace and smacks him right across the head with it, using the guy's own weapon against him. Like, that's cold. Like, Hawkman's just useless. But then Black Canary shows up with a high-pitched sonic scream that causes Alter Ego to collapse to the ground in pain. Finally, someone found her weakness. Really loud noises. Like, who would have thought? Here's where it gets interesting, though. Alter Ego is getting more and more furious because everyone keeps calling her Supergirl. And she hates that name. I mean, I get it. No one likes being called by their ex's name. Flash runs into the scene and grabs some thick industrial electrical cable, and he's trying to hog-tie Alter Ego in place. Now, Flash, buddy here, you should have known that that wasn't going to work. She just brushes it off and chases after him after he runs away. She ends up chasing him out of the moon base to where Flash makes a really, really dumb move. There's no atmosphere on the moon. The Flash is out there suffocating by himself while she's just laughing in his face. And as she's leaving, she gets confronted by Martian Manhunter, who hits her square in the face while he's invisible. She wasn't prepared for that one. Invisible sucker punches are apparently still effective against evil Kryptonians. She locates him, grabs him by the throat, and starts squeezing. At this point, she says, "There's nothing in this universe that can stop me." And that's where the issue ends, with the real Supergirl flying up saying, "I'll bet your life on it." So now we're at the last issue of this trade paperback, and it starts off with a flashback to Krypton, because of course it does. We see Kara and her father Zor-El having what I can only describe as the most toxic father-daughter conversation in comic book history. He's telling her about her journey to Earth and how when she gets there, she needs to find Kal-El and kill him. Because apparently Jor-El and Zor-El don't really have any brotherly love going on, and family reunions must have been a very awkward thing on Krypton. So here's the kicker. With Kara leaving Krypton so late in the planet's destruction, it's honestly surprising she didn't die that day. She was very fortunate that her ship put her in suspended animation when she got stuck between those rocks of the destroyed planet. Just imagine decades floating through space because your ship can't move. It's like the worst road trip ever. When her capsule crash landed in the Gotham harbor, she woke up with most of her memories lost. That extended period of suspended animation must have caused a form of amnesia. I mean, convenient plot twist here, right? So now we're back to the scene where the OG Supergirl and alter ego Supergirl are facing each other off. Alter ego was explaining the truth about Kara's entire past and what she was meant to actually do here on Earth: kill Superman and reign over the planet. And this is all thanks to Lex Luthor's black kryptonite ring. Thanks, Lex. Really making things complicated for everyone here. On the surface of the moon, both Supergirls punching each other back and forth in total anger and rage. Alter ego is more enraged that she even had to explain their past to Kara. She's the only one who could remember their past, and she's actually furious about how stupid and ignorant the OG Supergirl is for locking it away in her memories, in her mind all this time. I mean, fair point, selective amnesia is pretty annoying. After all, then alter ego grabs OG by the throat in a chokehold. In response, OG uses her heat vision to blast alter ego right in the face. Now that's what I call a family dispute. At this point, all the members of the Justice League show up to the scene. Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, Hawkman, Black Canary, and the Flash. The team gets some pretty good advice from both Supergirls telling them to leave while they still have a chance because it's just safer for everyone. But Black Canary is like, please, try to make any of us move and let's see what happens. Oh, Dinah, honey, you really don't want to test evil Supergirl right now. Now, both Supergirls fly off the moon surface. Hawkman's pissed off at Martian Manhunter because he's the only one fast enough to chase after them, but Martian Manhunter responds by telling the team, hey, Superman will deal with it when they arrive back on the Earth. Yeah, because really that's worked out well so far, hasn't it? Yeah. So here we get a cutscene with the OG chasing after Alter Ego, and the OG realizes that all this weird stuff with the JLA, Teen Titans, and the Outsiders, every confrontation she had with them that seemed bizarre, is all starting to make sense now. She wasn't the problem. It wasn't her. It was the Alter Ego Supergirl inside of her. This is what they were afraid of. Finally, some self-awareness here. Now, the two girls get into a brief battle in space and end up dropping through the atmosphere and landing in the ocean. Funny enough, just joking here, it's not the ocean, it's the Gotham River again. And then there's Batman standing right there at the pier on the dock watching, because of course Batman's there. This man has impeccable timing. Alter Ego swings a punch at Batman. The OG Supergirl intervenes. She uses her Arctic breath on Alter Ego to try to slow her down, but that doesn't last very long because nothing ever really lasts with evil Kryptonians. The three of them are battling on the pier, and out of nowhere pops up Superman and Wonder Woman. At this point, Alter Ego Supergirl starts talking in some mystical gibberish, a language that no one seems to understand. Probably some ancient Kryptonian curse words or something. For a moment you think Alter Ego Supergirl is about to fly away, but instead she flies right into the OG, smashing her through a builder, and it collapses on top of both of them. Alter Ego comes out of the rubble first, and Superman jumps in and throws a punch right in her face. OG flies out of the rubble of the collapsed building with a massive wrecking ball on a chain. She's swinging the wrecking ball back and forth, ready to smack Alter Ego with it. The girls end up getting submerged in a dust cloud from the building, and when they both get out of the cloud, Kara yells that Alter Ego stripped her and switched costumes. Now Wonder Woman and Superman can't figure out who the real Supergirl is. All four of them are fighting with each other now, and no one knows who's who. It's like the world's most dangerous game of which one is the evil twin. Batman ends up pulling out a kryptonite ring and awakening both the Supergirls because apparently that ring is always the solution to everything when dealing with Kryptonians. At this point, Wonder Woman grabs her lasso and wraps it around both Supergirls, trying to identify who's the real Kara Zor-El. A flash of light blinds everyone, and when the light disappears, there's only one Supergirl standing there in a blue outfit. The alter ego must have disintegrated or merged back with the original Supergirl. We really don't know at this point, and honestly, the comic doesn't seem to care about explaining it clearly anyway. Kara says she feels fine and is more than happy to be mentored by all three heroes. This way, she can get help getting rid of her inner demons and becoming a better hero.
They told us not to ask questions. They said the files were corrupted, the intel classified, the case closed. But we kept digging. Welcome to black box theories, where the facts don't add up, the coincidences aren't random, and the truth buried under layers of denial. Strap in, agent. You're not supposed to hear this. Theory number 1. Kara was sent to replace Kal. Classification: highly probable. Supergirl's late arrival, immense power, and confused state suggest that her mission wasn't to protect Kal-El, but to take his place. Some Kryptonians may have planned for her to become Earth's new champion, not him. Theory number 2. Darkseid manipulated her arrival. Classification: speculative. Kara's crash timing and immediate psychological break may have been influenced by apocalyptian tech. What if her pod was intercepted or reprogrammed en route? Theory number 3. Harbinger knew Kara's future. Classification: possible. Harbinger's death may not be random. She could have foreseen Kara's turn to darkness and been silenced by a cosmic force trying to protect the timeline. Theory number 4. Batman had a kryptonite kill plan. Classification: highly likely. Though not confirmed on panel, it strongly implied that Batman had a contingency in place to neutralize Kara. He may have seen her as a greater threat than even Superman. Theory number 5. Themyscira was a containment zone. Classification: plausible. Wonder Woman's insistence on Kara staying on Themyscira may have had less to do with training and more to do with keeping her away from the rest of the world, possibly under orders from the League.
Kara's arc is one of raw transformation. She starts off on a blank slate, an echo of Superman, but quickly evolves into something more deeply unique. She doesn't want Earth's love, or even its acceptance. She wants control over her own narrative. And the book lets her stumble, fall, and fight for that. Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman each act as mirrors showing different sides of power and responsibility. But unlike them, Kara is emotionally volatile, and that's exactly what makes her real in the way many Kryptonians aren't allowed to be. Jeff Loeb's writing gives Kara's intensity and vulnerability, making her story feel mystic and messy all at once. The dialogue crackles, especially when Kara confronts her cousin or fights off her brainwashing. It's not just action, it's emotional warfare. Michael Turner's art is legendary for a reason. Supergirl is drawn with a striking ethereal presence. She looks fragile and deadly at the same time. The sharp lines, luminous eyes, and explosive action sequences give the entire volume a near cinematic energy. This book feels really big.
Some intel doesn't belong in the open. When a story gets too twisted, too dangerous, or just too damn weird, we file it under red. This is the Red Files, classified content, high-risk statistics, and the kind of secrets you don't unsee once exposed. Proceed with caution, agent. Red File number 1. Michael Turner, the artist, passed away just 2 years after this arc. His distinct, almost ethereal style became synonymous with early 2000s Kara. Red File number 2. This version of Kara is a modern retelling that reintroduces her after a 17-year absence from DC continuity following Crisis on Infinite Earths. Red File number 3. In a twist of irony, Kara's debut was in Superman Batman number 8, where Batman is the first hero to try to kill her. Red File number 4. Themyscira scenes were inspired by Loeb's own daughter, who passed away. infusing Kara's journey with themes of grief and loss. Red File number 5, Kara's brainwashing sequence on Apocalypse, was directly referenced in later DC animated properties, including Superman, Batman, Apocalypse.
The book jumps from Kryptonian memory shards to Themyscira, Metropolis, and straight into Apocalypse. Each location brings out a different side of Kara. Earth isn't just her home yet, and the tension hums beneath every scene. The tone is dark, emotionally raw, and often overwhelming, which kind of is the point. This isn't a comfortable origin story. It's really messy, it's violent, it's confusing. But it's real. Kara doesn't know who she is, and neither do we until the final panel of this trade paperback. The core theme is identity under pressure. Kara is tossed into a world that seems to see her as a threat, a copy, or a tool. Her fight isn't just physical, it's existential. She doesn't want to survive Earth. She wants to matter here. Another powerful layer is control versus chaos. Kara is consistently manipulated by her powers, by heroes, by villains, by fate. Her defiance of all of it. This is where her heroism is born. She's not here to replace Superman. She's here to rewrite the whole damn playbook. In 2006, DC was leaning hard into darker, grittier reinventions of classic heroes. Supergirl's return wasn't a cheerful reboot. It was a reconstruction. This was post-9/11 superhero storytelling. Messy, trauma-filled, and full of mistrust. Kara embodies that epic skepticism about unchecked power. This book also carved out space for female superheroes who weren't defined by likability. Kara is angry, defensive, scared, dangerous, and none of these disqualifies her from her heroism. In fact, that makes her arc essential in the broader superhero genre. Compared to Superman Birthright, which tells Kal-El's origin with grace and optimism, Supergirl power feels like its angry teenage cousin throwing a tantrum in a burning house. Next to Wonder Woman the Hecatia, there's a similar feminism tone, but where Diana is composed and godlike, Kara is pure emotional chaos. And that's compelling in its own right. Even compared to X-23's origin over at Marvel, there are some parallels. Young women bred for destruction trying to reclaim agency, but Kara's power is more god tier, and that makes the stakes significantly more cosmic. Reception for this graphic novel was mixed to positive at the time. Some readers were thrown by the tone or the overt sexualism in the art, but others praised it for giving Kara narrative teeth and emotional complexity not seen since the pre-crisis days. In hindsight, this volume became the blueprint for Kara's modern identity. The version we see in animated TV shows, CW Supergirl, and even comics like Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow owes a huge debt to power. This was the origin reset that stuck.
All right, agents, intel has been gathered, dossiers reviewed, and it's time to declassify the best of the best. Welcome to the awards segment, where we spotlight the operatives, wildcards, and game-changing moments that made this mission unforgettable. Let's hand out some top secret honors.
Top Operative Award, Supergirl, Kara Zor-El. Kara earns this without question. She commands every page, even when she's spiraling. Her emotional swings, terrifying power levels, and ultimate self-liberation from Darkseid make her a standout force. She's not Superman light. She's her own nuclear storm. Dark Horse Award, Batman. Yeah, you heard me. While everyone else waffles, Batman is the first to say she's dangerous, but not out of fear, out of calculated strategic observation. His concern is valid, his instincts sharp, and his role in Kara's journey is low-key and pivotal. Okay, agents, all cards are on the table. This book isn't perfect, but it's bold as hell. Strength-wise, nails emotional instability, cosmic stakes, and powerful character growth. It dares to make Kara complicated, and that matters. Weaknesses. The sexualized art doesn't age very well, and some dialogue feels dated and edgy for the sake of it. There's also so much jammed into this volume that it can feel overwhelming on a first read. This is for readers who want more than just the CW wholesome hero. It's for fans of cosmic battles, gritty identity stories, and female protagonists who push back against the mold. Is it worth reading? Absolutely. It's a messy origin story, but it's also honest, it's dangerous, and it's beautifully raw. It doesn't ask you to love Kara. it dares you to try to understand her. Final score, I'm giving this one an 8.5 out of 10. A flawed but fearless reintroduction that turns Supergirl into a true force of nature. If this breakdown got your Kryptonian blood pumping, hit that like button, drop a comment telling us your favorite version of Supergirl, and subscribe for more deep dive comic reviews every single week. And remember, she's not a sidekick, she's not a clone, she's not a symbol. She's a weapon learning how to be human. This is Top Secret Inc., where superpowered secrets don't stay buried.